Do you want to grow something like this with a stalk structure like this? Well, stay tuned for this video on the LST method. The LST method is super cool because unlike when we top a plant and have that really symmetrical vertical growth at the beginning, this stalk structure is almost completely horizontal and then takes a 90-degree turn for the main cola. Welcome back to the Bud Trainer Grow Lab. This is Kurt here with Bud Trainer, and today I'm going to be transplanting a seedling that grew a little bit crooked. So it has a bit of a bend to it already, and I think this is the perfect seedling to do a complete low stress training method on rather than topping this plant. So today we will be going through transplanting a plant that you're going to be doing an LST on, no topping whatsoever. Let's get started by getting this lady into her new home, 2-gallon fabric pot, and we'll be off to the races from there. To do a little LST only method is to give the plant room to grow across the pot. Because I'm going to be using a tie down with one of the grommets here on the bud pots, I'm actually going to place this plant probably close to this edge. And that way when it gets a little taller and I start to pull it over, it's going to expose those lower nodes and have the mass of the plant still end up pretty much over top of the middle of the pot. Now, some people might argue that the roots aren't going to grow throughout this pot. Well, that's just not true. The roots will grow to where the water is. That's their main job as roots, is to find the water. So after a few weeks in this pot of watering evenly, those roots will space out and I will get a strong root system. Our LST plant is loving life in its new home, and it's just tall enough to start training across the pot. Now, you could use the grommets and some garden ties to train this at this point, although it is a little bit short for that. So what I'm going to do first is use one single bud clip to create that first bend and move it towards this side of the pot where there's more space to grow. Once it continues to grow out of that, the bud clip will leave a bend which will give me a perfect spot for a garden tie down. For this technique, and because the node spacing is pretty tight, I do want to give this plant a little bit of a massage, a little bit of a pinch and massage where the bud clip is going to go, and boom. So we have kind of a base bend here. If you didn't put a bud clip on that, that would just grow back up. It would have a little bit more of a knuckle, but the bud clip holds that bend in place. Bottom pin rather will go on the main stalk first, above a node. Make sure that the second pin isn't hindering one of the shoots on the nodes above. Boom. So if you can notice, the two shoots on this node have room to grow upwards. The node below that is free from the clip, and then the pin sitting just above another node. What's going to happen here is these branches are going to grow out this way. The head of the plant will continue to grow out towards the side, and I'll probably end up pruning the lowest node here and some of the fan leaves. I'm actually going to do that right now because it's a good time to do this while it's nice and exposed. Don't necessarily want these leaves to be sitting on the cocoa anyways. Just remove that first node. It's good practice on pretty much every plant to remove that first node, because what's going to happen is they're going to just grow out sucker branches that don't produce the type of flower that we are after. Back into the veg tent she goes. A few weeks after we started that main bend with that singular BudClip, it's ready to be removed, and this thing is almost choking this branch. It's gotten so thick. We'll just hit the pins here, supporting the branch with my index finger. Makes a nice little sound. That's the importance of removing BudClips, guys. You can reuse that now, and then it's going to allow that branch to become as big as it wants. So we're going to continue on with our main stem here. Train this one as low as we can get it to the pot with a bud hugger. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of work clockwise here and train the branches that are above that canopy level. I'm also going to come in and remove the weaker shoots at each node. If there's two shoots that are the same, you can leave them. But typically when you do something like this, one shoot will be much stronger than its pair. Its twin shoot will be much smaller and weaker, and that's just going to continue throughout the growth of the plant. So you might as well remove it now. That energy that would have went to that node is no longer going to be wasted. I want to put my bud hugger on the bottom of my pot first, kind of figure out where I want to make the bend on the bud hugger, bend it off the branch. If you try to bend it over the branch, that's how we get breaks. Now that I have that first bend, I'm just going to do exactly what the brand name says, give it a little hug. And as easy as that, guys, the main stalk is now as low as it can get to that pot, and I'll work my way around the edges. So if we look at our second node on the plant, one branch is about 2 inches smaller than the opposing branch. I also have this branch over here, so I'm going to actually not train this shoot. I'm going to remove it altogether. So just right at the base of that main stalk, quick little cut. It's the weaker of the two shoots on that node. It's no longer going to be on the plant. This branch here, much stronger than its opposing branch. This one here is just barely staying above the pot, so I'm going to remove the opposing branch. It's also going to get covered up by the stronger branches on this side anyways. And then because I don't have a grommet right where I want this, I'm going to use a BudClip. And just like that, on this node below the top node, train it down. So it's pretty much similar canopy height to the main stalk at this point. Again, we don't have a grommet right here, and the BudClips work great for a branch like this. Pin on one side of the node, bend it into the other, pin, and she's trained. Now this shoot here is on the same node as this shoot here. This one's the stronger one, so I'm just going to remove that shoot. Working here, we can see this shoot. Not sure if you can see it. This shoot is much smaller than this guy, and we want to balance out this side, so same thing here, removing a shoot. And then these two and the main stalk, I'm not going to touch those for now. This branch here, I might train a little bit later on, but it's kind of at the canopy height I want. This one's not quite mature enough right here. So that's all for today, folks. So I'm going to start by removing the BudClips that I added. During the stretch phase, these branches are going to get very thick, so I will have to kind of remove them after that anyways. They have reached the sides of the pot, the branches that is, So it's a perfect time to switch these out for some bud huggers. You don't need super long pieces for this, so going with like a 6-inch piece that I've already used before, so these are reusable if you just straighten them out and take care of them properly. You can make these last a few grows, and doing these tie downs will certainly promote more lateral growth during that stretch phase. I think I like where the tie down is on the main stalk. No need to try to pull that down anymore. Branches have gotten pretty woody at this point, so that could again result in a branch breaking. We don't want that. I'm gonna take off maybe a couple of the lowest fan leaves as well, just to clean up the base here, make watering this a little bit easier. Gonna remove some of the very lowest shoots on some of the branches as well. This little shoot here on the main stalk is much smaller than its twin shoot, so I'm gonna leave the better shoot being this one behind and remove that one on the bottom side. I could probably train this branch as well to give this branch more of a fighting chance, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna use one of the bud clips that I just took off to do that. Very simple, quick method here, and no topping involved, so no real stress to the plant other than the low stress training that we do. If you're afraid of topping, just a straight LST is a great method for you to try out as a new grower. Our LST plant has reached the end of the stretch phase. It's filled in beautifully, and it's time for that mid-flower post-stretch defoliation, whatever you want to call it. It's day 21 and it's time for a haircut. So what this does is increase the air flow. It also lets the plant focus on just, you know, those top big colas and some of the secondary colas, because we're just going to strip everything down that if we hadn't done, it would still work on maturing, right? So these little tiny popcorn buds at the bottom would just be like super small, not very fun to trim. So we just get rid of them now. The other really cool thing about doing a mid-flower defoliation is you can see the stalk structure that you created in veg. It's one of the more rewarding things, in my opinion, when you train plants, is seeing that stalk structure. Everybody loves the colas, but a good stalk structure is, in my opinion, very nice to look at. The rule here is kind of the bottom third. Everything from the bottom third down I'm going to be removing, including these massive fan leaves, okay? And of course, the little branches like this. So again, if you left these on for another 5 weeks till maturity, popcorn bud is all you're gonna get there. We're just gonna go branch by branch here. I'll rotate the plant and kind of just stationarily do this. One of the trade-offs that you get from not topping your plant and doing an LST like this is it's very bushy in here. So you'll see on like a main line or a manifold, it's a little bit less crowded in the center because you clean up some of those shoots before you flip the flower. Whereas with this straight LST, I didn't get a chance to do that. So as you can see, we now have a nice look at this beautiful LST stalk structure. So that main stalk is all the way out here. I even put that bud clip at the beginning of flower down here. So that was the top of my branch at the beginning of flower, right in there, if you can see that. And that's how much it grew in the 3 weeks since flipping to flower. So once I clear out a couple more of these just small buds at the bottom of these branches, this will be good to go back into the flower room for, I believe this strain is an 8-week strain. I've grown it before and it was right on 8 weeks, so I'll have 5 more weeks of flower left before we see some really fat colas. We have made it to the end of flower with this LST no topping plant, and it's ready for chop. So what we're gonna do today is remove a few of these fan leaves to make the trimming process a bit easier, cut it at the base, and hang dry it for about 10 days before we get to trim jail. All right guys, here's the moment of truth. Let's get in here and chop at the base of our LST plant. Boom. Check out that stalk structure. Pretty wild. No topping, got to flower pretty quickly, and we still multiplied our top colas. Now, take a bud hugger, wrap the stem, and you can hang dry this for about 10 days. We're gonna do a little bit of a stem test at that point, and if it's ready, we will start trimming.